8 of the fantasy football season. And he has a few running backs have his sleeper options this week. The first guy, James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. So right here, James Cook in week 6 before the bye week here for this Bill team. He operated as the number 2 running back over there for this Buffalo Bill team. And Zach Moss was a healthy scratch. So James Cook available still in tons of fantasy leagues at 78% of leagues here. And he's a guy that's the brother of Dalvin Cook. And in the short time we've seen him this season get a few games where he gets some carries. This guy went out there and made some plays. Week 3 of Miami, and that won 4 catches, 37 yards, and 3 rushing yards. And week 5 at Pittsburgh, 4 carries, 31 yards, and a touchdown. So right here, I know Devin Singletary's still the man over there for this Buffalo Bill team. But I think Cook could give him that physical runner in between the tackles here, which Singletary don't really do. He's more of a running back that obviously is a passing downs back. A guy that you're just going to give the ball just to keep the running game going, but not really a pure running back. He's more of a receiver, if anything, is Singletary. And if they want to add more to their offense here as this Bill team, I think after a bye week where rookies usually get more involved, we could see James Cook more involved this week here. And if you're desperate for a flex in deeper leagues or a second running back or whatever the case may be, James Cook might be a decent roll of the dice as a sleeper this week. The next guy, J.D. McKissic of the Washington Commanders. So right here, McKissic, it's been a quiet year for him in this Commander team. And I know with Brian Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson, he's not really getting touches and doing things here, J.D. McKissic. So right here, the last few weeks for McKissic, weeks 5 versus Tennessee, 5 catches, 37 yards. Week 6 at the Chicago Bears, he didn't do much, 2 carries, 20 yards. And week 7 versus Green Bay in that one, he didn't do much again. A carry for 4 yards on 2 targets. I know he's definitely a dart throw this week, but it's a decent matchup on paper at Indianapolis that gives up the 10th most fantasy points to backs on the season. I know it's a fast track over there in Indianapolis indoors on the turf. And right here, I think they got to get McKissic more involved. And those dump offs are good for quarterbacks, but even though I know Antonio Gibson played that role last week here, it wouldn't surprise me to see McKissic get a role. And right now, he's available in 85% of fantasy leagues. And the third and final running back I have as a sleeper this week's Michael Hasty of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So right now we know they traded James Robinson early in the week to the New York Jets. And I'm not totally convinced Travis Etienne is going to get pretty much the bulk of the carries in every carry. Etienne's more of a receiving back and a passing downs back. I know last week he carried the workload and went over 100 yards and a touchdown. By Hasty, he's a big physical back. We've seen some flash from him over the last few seasons with the 49ers. And even in week 6, he had a big 50-yard run in that one. 3 carries, 51 yards and a touchdown versus the Colts. And I know last week only 1 carry for 6 yards, but right now the head coach, Peterson, said he's going to see more carries is JaMycal Hasty. And right now, if you're in a desperation play, he's out there in 91% of fantasy leagues. And like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if we could see some goal line work from Hasty. He's a bigger back, or even a guy who's going to get anywhere from 5 to 10 touches in this one. So if you need a guy in deeper leagues as a sleeper, I got Hasty as one this week. So that's a few running backs I have as sleeper options for week 8 of the fantasy football season.